Okay, I want some funny questions that I'd like to ask. Okay. First of all, I would love to know if there's been any fascinating or interesting, story that you have from past life regression therapy, like someone that you did it for someone and maybe that person turns out to be like a historical figure or maybe like a famous personality, something memorable that you can recall.
So there's so many stories, but one thing I remember, I always would have a trigger with my staff and my servants and my drivers especially. Always. This was a set thing for me that they would trigger me to some degree. And once when I was healing this lady with her past life memory, and in this lifetime she was really suffering from, like, she got married, and the moment she got married, after 3 months of her marriage, her husband went through an accident and he went into paraplegia. Paraplegia is a condition where one of your nerves get damaged and you go like a vegetable down.
Oh, okay.
So she came to me when she was almost like 20 years into the marriage, and her misery was like, 20 years I've been married to this guy and I've only been serving him. Right? And I don't know why, but it's definitely karmic, because it's not a coincidence. I marry him and he goes through this accident in 2 months. And after that, he's become a vegetable and I've just been literally, wiping his shit and feeding him, and I'm done with this. So I said, okay, let's regress you. And we went back to a past life memory of hers, where she very, very clearly saw that in some lifetime, she was this very egoistic sarpanch. She saw herself as this very superior person, and her current husband was working under her.
Okay.
And in arrogance and with some mistake that he had made, she kicked him.
Okay.
Right? And he went and hit his head against a stone there. And she could see his nerve cut here and bleeding. And his last words before dying, she heard them, was, "Iska ghamand todunga, isse seva karvaunga." And he died.
Oh.
And the moment, she could feel it in every bone of hers. And the moment she opened her eyes, she was howling and crying. And the funny thing was, after she went back, her whole way of dealing with him had become more compassionate. And in 21 days, he freed her from this karmic cycle and he passed away. Because she had realized her lesson.
So the soul knew. The soul of the husband also knew.
Yeah. It's a contract. And that made me more compassionate. I nothing to the drivers and nothing God. Because, you know what? In this lifetime, they're not entangled with me in my immediate karmic cycle or karmic family. They're an outside circle. But let's say if I'm abusing you, now we are all souls at one level, we are entangled. And in God's eyes or in the universe eyes, we are all one. I have no right to insult or abuse anybody, right? So I make you feel small, and you are not in a position to give it back to me because obviously you're working for me. Now, if you die of that hurt and pain, I have entangled myself for the next lifetime with you. And in the next lifetime now, I have to come back.
And that's the reason emotion plays such a big part.
Of course, yes. So that's why they say we're all one, and treat everybody with kindness, right? And if you can't be kind, just keep quiet.
How many sessions does one typically take to kind of go back and access their past life?
Like I told you, it depends on the intensity of the receiver.
Okay.
Like if I'm talking about this case, like she was so bottled up with her suffering, she was ready to crack. So it doesn't depend on the therapist. It's like an egg. Okay, let's understand. Sure. When an egg is ready to crack from the inside, you get new life, you get a chicken. But when somebody cracks it forcefully from the outside, you only get an omelette. So therapist cannot crack you open. When you are ready to crack, a therapist provides an environment and a process inside of which you could unfold your memory. And that's why so many people come to me, I want to do past life, and I just smile at them. I said, would you ever go to a surgeon and tell them, listen, please do a surgery on me? You won't do that, right? So this is where the misunderstanding is. And so many people also come to me and say, I went to this past life therapist, but nothing showed up. I said, maybe because you were not ready to crack.
It's also calling, right? Like the timing will
The memory has to be activated, and then automatically at that moment you will reach to the right person. They say, when the student is ready, the master appears.
Right?
Yeah. So don't force open these memories. your soul will help you navigate the right place. Because this is not like some fun process. I just want to go and explore. Oh, show me a past life memory and I want to see. Because where will I take you? There's so many lifetimes you've lived. I don't have a point of reference. Like, for example, this woman specifically came to me that I'm suffering from 20 years. I want to know what is happening. So immediately her soul took her to that memory.
Because it was so strong from inside. Okay. Yeah. Have you ever experienced that the person who came for past life regression, in their past life, they were a non-human entity? As in, other than human, they could have been in any other category of creatures. Can be
not really, actually, because it's also how it's your observation. Sure. I just choose to look at them as humans, and they show up as humans. So, although I've met a lot of starseeds and different categories of people, however, I choose to relate to them as humans and not humanoids or the other categories you call them. Yeah.
Okay. But in through past life, have people had these experiences? Because I came across this really crazy documentary, wherein on literally the Netflix of spirituality, wherein there's a Spanish guy recalls that he was born, I don't know how many millions of years ago, on a different galaxy and a planet, and he was, I think, in a proton or a neutron form. That's what he said. Have you experienced in your personal therapies that someone said that they were able to access a different, like they had life on a different planet or galaxy? Yeah.
Different planet or galaxy, no. But I do remember there was this one retreat where we were exploring the entire different dimensions from 0 density to the 12 density. So we took them back into a timeline, and a few people could go back to the time when they were like a rock or snakes.
Okay.
Right. And they could relate to the incompletion that they left behind in those lifetimes. Not in the human body, but in other, you must understand that we've been all of it. We've been the minerals, we've been the water, we've been the oceans, we've been all the plants and trees and all. So yes, this experience we've had where we took back when we are exploring the dimensions.
Yeah, but this is also so humbling, right? Like when you go through something like that and then you realize that I have been all of this. Right.
And that's where your connection is with oneness, and all is, and we're also connected. And after being all of that, we come as the most superior species, and we are carrying all of it within us. Yeah. And we are the only species, or the most sampurna species. Do you know we carry the 5 elements within us? We carry the 9 planets on our fingertips.
I've heard that's the reason we eat, to eat with our hands.
So the entire universe is within us, and that's why we have this mantra, Aham Brahmasmi.
Yeah.
I am the universe.
Creator,
I am the creator. Yeah. But you know what? We discount ourselves so much in life.
So true.
Like when you look at our chakras, all the 5 elements, like water is only water, but I have water, I have air, I have earth, fire, space.
Yeah.
There could be no other whole and complete or sampurna species besides us. But still we always feel we are not good enough. We always play it small.
So our only job in every birth that we have is that just learn the lessons and keep on becoming the full and wholesome being that you were born.
Yes, your lessons will keep repeating.
Until you learn them.
And to simplify karma, I feel, just understand the law of cause and effect. Without a cause into motion, there will be no effect. Right? So everything that's coming back to me in my life is an effect of the cause my soul has put into motion in any other lifetime. So to simplify karma, I don't have to go back to what I gave out. Because what I gave out is coming back to me right now. I just need to learn my lesson, correct it in the now. So if anger is coming back to me, I've given it out. So rather than going back and exploring, if I'm very self-aware, I will not waste time in going back. I'll say, okay, I have given this somewhere. So now I'm going to correct, and from today I'm not going to give out anger. And that becomes very easy for me to overcome and learn my lessons and overcome my karmic cycles.
Have people also reported that they experience interaction maybe with like an interdimensional being or maybe like an extraterrestrial?
A lot, absolutely. And in the current dimension of the 5D density, the 5th dimension, there's the veil between the physical and the non-physical is very thin, and even in the interdimensions. So there's going to be a lot of invasion of aliens and into our planet. And a lot of that is going on the planet currently, and I'm sure you've heard of it also, right? Yeah, so a lot of this, we have these experiences, but they're too unreal to even understand for a normal person who doesn't understand the entire universe, how this works. So
maybe that's the reason so many UFO sightings.
Yes, and this is going to increase more as time moves on.
The only thing that's disappointing for me is it only happens in America. I was like, why doesn't it happen in any other part of the world? Right. Yeah. Does PLR also talk about or reveal evidence of being born in the same family lineage or being part of the same family? Like even in the past life, they would have been part of the same family, and even in this life?
Yes, you could repeat the same family if it's undone karma. Yes, you would come back in the same family. Although the entire lineage may not be the same.
Okay.
Right? But then the families, you could repeat your patterns. Okay. Surely.
So when we are able to spot a pattern in someone, is it, a trait that I already have, or is it actually an unhealed karma?
So when you understand the whole science of projection is something that I see in others. So the thumb rule is, if you spot it, you got it. Right? So we have a conscious and unconscious memory. So whatever I'm seeing in others is an unhealed, unconscious, unaccepted part of me. And that is the reason I'm judging it in them and projecting it on them. Right? Okay. And when we are born with no good parts and bad parts. Right. We're just dual in nature. So we have dark parts and light parts. And our role is to add light to the dark parts and heal them and integrate them. However, because, like, I'll give you an example. A small child is lying. Now, lying is an energy we're all born with. Okay, and white lies is a part of our framework. And then if the child is beaten up for telling lies, so the child picks up a message that this energy I'm never ever going to show it to other people because people will judge me. So we end up hiding this energy in our unconscious. And then I wear a mask of being a super honest person. The contrast. Yeah. And now everywhere I go, I look at liars and I get triggered. But then that liar that I'm judging is already an unhealed version of me that I've trapped somewhere in the basement in my unconscious. And the thumb rule of this unhealed shadow is, if you don't use it consciously, it keeps using you in a programmed way. So you are a compulsive liar, but you can't see it.
You can't see it.
Because it's using you in every aspect of your life. So
if someone is able to look through people and they can spot if the other person is bluffing or manipulating them, that means that somewhere even they can bluff people and can manipulate people.
200%.
They might not be aware.
Like I told you, if you spot it, you got it. And when these shadows are not healed, they end up as our next life karma. Now, again, like I said, there are no good parts and bad parts. When I become self-aware, then I bring all of these energies into my consciousness and use them with a choice where it's needed. Like, I might need a place where I need to consciously manipulate or consciously bluff, but I'm aware I'm doing it. So the idea is, I have to be very self-aware of what am I doing.
So if I'm aware and I'm doing a karma, then it's fine. Is that the bottom line?
No, it also depends on how much I'm hurting the other person. Then it's not fine.
Right.
See, because if I am fine with it, but if I hurt you and you set out an energy into motion towards my direction, it has to come and hit me.
Right. Tell me one thing. For example, nothing such drastically bad has happened in my life so far, right? But I still opt to go for a past life regression therapy session, and in there I saw something traumatic. Does that also hint that something can happen in my future too? I still have not seen the consequence of it. I've seen the cause, but I've not seen the effect of it in my life so far. So does that mean that something will definitely happen in future? Because I've already triggered the cause, but the effect has not happened
So there are two parts to this. Number one is, please understand, a karmic memory that's trapped in the unconscious is in a deactivated state.
Okay.
It's lying there, unprocessed, deactivated.
Dormant, right?
Dormant. Now, suddenly when we go and touch it, we activate it in our current energy field.
Okay.
Now, in the universe, there's no past, present, future.
Right.
Right? So, let's say if I saw something like abuse. Now, currently, in my current now moment, I've activated the abuse energy. So, if I've not healed the entire memory of abuse and that vibration of abuse, I will end up attracting abuse in the now moment. And it could be karmic or it could be because of my activated memory. And if it's not showed up, the consequences have not showed up, and if I'm self-aware, I can actually change the future in the now moment
by
being aware, learning my lesson. And there's this one beautiful tool called Ho'oponopono. It's a Hawaiian prayer, which I swear by, right? And I feel it helps you not show up the event in the future by learning your lesson and by neutralizing the energy in the now.
Interesting.
So this is where tools come into place. Right. And I think Ho'oponopono is a blessing that we've been given to humanity, because if you're using that tool, it deactivates every karmic charge that shows up. Because you're also willing to learn your lesson in that.
So if I'm actually using Ho'oponopono prayer and I'm asking for forgiveness even when I don't know what I have done in the past, right? But I'm still healing it despite not knowing what I have done in the past.
So I'll give you an example, okay? And I share this very often when I'm teaching Ho'oponopono. There was this one time in my life where it was one of those days where I really needed some funds. And I was expecting some money to come through that day. And suddenly this person calls up and says, like, aapka payment abhi 4-5 din delay ho gaya. But I was sitting in a very critical situation where I needed that money. And the amount also was precisely 2.5 lakh rupees, right? So, I went through a little bit of an emotional breakdown because I had committed to someone and I wanted to honor my commitment. And I suddenly said, okay, I don't know what is my karma. And suddenly, the first thing goes is, koi karma hoga, mera paisa ruk gaya. I said, let's use Ho'oponopono. Right? So Ho'oponopono is a very simple statement. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you and I thank you. So my money is stuck right now. So I am saying sorry to the stuck money. Okay. Now, why is my money stuck? Because somewhere I have kept someone's money. Right? That's why my money got stuck. Right. So I'm sorry. Please forgive me. In 10 minutes of doing Ho'oponopono with pure self-awareness, out of nowhere, I receive a call from one of my very old karigars. I was into clothes at one time. And for the last 7 years, I was not in touch with him. Suddenly he calls me up and says, Bhabhi ji, aapne na mera 25,000 dena tha, aapne rakh liya tha mera. Now, in another moment, I would have become defensive and maybe shooed him off. But suddenly the light went on and I started joining the dots. 2.5 lakhs, 25,000. And could there be a connection? And I suddenly told him, come and take your money. Here he comes and takes his money. And by the evening, that money didn't show up, but some other money showed up and I was free from my trap. And this is only one of those incidents I'm relating. I have million episodes to tell you how Ho'oponopono works. Wow. If you're really doing it, the evidence will show up in the now.
You just need to have faith.
The block gets cleared. It works.
Interesting. Yeah.
And it's one of the best karma healing tools.
Dr. Ramon, this has been, what should I say? I'm just like mind blown at every answer that you gave. Our crew members are like absolutely mind blown. And I think this is one of the first times in our podcast, we have done so many. But first time that we are like, oh my God, at everything that you have said, like literally in awe of it. And I think it is also one of those podcasts where we leave this room with a bit more honor for ourselves and a bit more of self-love and compassion towards ourselves. This is personally, I think definitely it has touched all of us somewhere and it would make that change within us. So thank you so much. I mean, I would love to take this conversation even longer because I think the topic is so exciting, but big gratitude to you for opening your heart and opening all the knowledge that you have with us. And I really hope that anyone who listens to this feels the same way, the way we felt all throughout this conversation. So thank you so much for doing this with us and just more and more power to you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I think I loved every bit of it too.
And for everyone who's watched this podcast, please don't forget to like, subscribe our channel. And if you think that, you know someone who might find their answers through this episode, please don't forget to share it with them. And we will keep coming back with more such exciting topics. And I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much.